My name is Alana McLaughlin. I am only 13. I am an 8th grader at John Early Middle, and I play trumpet, piano. I was a cheerleader for 2 years. This was my last season, but I'll probably cheer next year. I ran track. I've done multiple, I'm a part of multiple organizations such as, well, I'm an alumna of the Junior National Young Leaders Conference. Every summer I go to camp at Western Kentucky University's Center for Gifted Studies. They have camps such as SCATS, which is the summer camp for academically talented students, and VAMPY, which is the summer camp for verbally and mathematically precocious youth. I have always wanted to make a difference in the world. And growing up as a minority and as and growing up in a race that is so powerful yet so overlooked, it's always been hard for me to do that. And so this is kind of like my outlet to share information and to bring awareness to the things that you wouldn't usually hear. And it's interesting to see this little black girl on TV just talking about these things, because that's not something you see every day. Like I said, we're an amazing race that's just constantly overlooked. And we have so much power and knowledge and understanding to give. It's just, we're overlooked. And so I use the show as my outlet to share information, and I've been doing this for, this is, what month is this? This is May. In December, it'll be my 8th year doing this, and so this is my biggest pastime.
And so, Alana, in a real sense, this is a topic that you've given some thought to, and I think that all of the topics that you've already given us dealing with on this level have been very, very interesting, as well as very, very informative kinds of topics. Let's start off by allowing you, during the remaining part of this first segment, to sort of lay the foundation as to why you would like to talk about Islam in America, and give our audience some idea in terms of what Islam is all about.
Well, in the first segment, I'm really going to go into vocabulary. So, before a couple days ago, I had no idea what anti-Islamic sentiment was. So we're going to break down the words and basically explain it so that the viewers will have a better knowledge of what we're talking about. First of all, sentiment is like a good feeling, and etc. and etc. Think sentimental. Anti-sentiment is the exact opposite. It's negative feelings. So think, Jim Crow laws were anti-sentimental towards blacks. That's why you can remember that. Islam is a religion. People always confuse Muslims. Okay, Islam is the religion and Muslims follow that. Just think Christians follow Christianity. It is a very, very common misconception that A, Muslims are race, that B, Islam is the people that follow Muslims. It's the complete opposite. Islam is a monotheistic and Abrahamic religion that is based on the verbatim word of God, which they know as the Quran. The Quran is the equivalent of the Bible in Christianity. I'm making inferences like this because, you know, a lot of people in America are Christian, so that's like just something they can understand about. The Quran is basically their holy word, and the complete, the main purpose of the world for Islam is to follow God and to obey God. And so that's a little overview of Islam and Muslims, the people who follow Islam. And so viewers will have a better understanding of what we're talking about in the next 2 subjects, where we talk about anti-Islamic sentiment and how that affects the new generations.
Very good. And so what we'll do, we'll take this first commercial break after you've given us sort of a foundation for the discussion of anti-Islamic sentiment in the United States. We'll come back during the second segment to get into some cases dealing with some of the problems that we're dealing with now. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Now, I was trying to catch up with this. This is my time.
Can we
here.
scoot that over a little bit so I can see it out the corner of my eye? Because I'm looking right here.
Well, actually, see, the thing is, you need to be like...
Yeah, okay, well, that's better anyway. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, and so, Lana, the second segment we're going to talk about anti-Islamic sentiment in the United States. That'll be the introduction, and then we're talking to you, and then we're going to give you an opportunity to talk about what? I mean, how you want to introduce this topic. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a recap of the first subject, like the vocabulary and stuff, and just get into what it is.
Okay, very good.
And this whole segment is gonna be what it is, and the third segment will be how it affects my generation and
Well, now this segment
social media and stuff like that.
It's 8 minutes of what it is. This is what you think you can talk about it for 8 minutes?
Yeah, I can talk about what it is for 8 minutes.
Yeah, well,
I can talk about what it is for 10 minutes. I can talk about what it is for
just talk about it for 8 minutes, okay? That'll be appropriate. I like those reviews that you give too, in order to bring the audience in.
Thank you. Paul, when we do it, you gotta go like this, Paul. You gotta go like you gotta blow up. Here, come on.
7 minutes and 55 seconds right there. That's what.
30 seconds out.
Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. Excuse me. The topic is anti-Islamic sentiment in the United States, and we have to talk about anti-Islamic sentiment in the United States, Alana McLaughlin. Now, Alana, you've given me some information in reference to your background, your education, and you've touched, excuse me, upon some aspects of Islamic sentiment. But let's pick up at this point and talk about Islamic sentiment in the United States.
Well, if you're just tuning in, my name is Alana McLaughlin, and I gave a little background about me. Also, in the first segment, I talked about vocabulary and key terms that you're going to need to know the definitions of to be able to fully take away everything from the show today. I talked about, basically the whole thing of the show is talking about and analyzing, kind of picking apart the anti-Semitic feeling,
Islamic.
of Islam, I'm sorry. So basically I talk about anti-sentiment. And so just think the word sentiment is like good feelings and etc. Think sentimental. And then think of anti-sentiment as the complete opposite. And then anti-sentimental feelings toward Islam, or the religion. And I talked about Islam, which is a monotheistic religion. It goes by the Quran, which is the equivalent of the Bible in Christianity. It's their holy word, and they believe it is the verbatim word by God. And so I talked about what Islam is, and I talked about a few common misconceptions. The most popular being that Muslim is a religion, and that Islamic people are the people that follow Muslims, which is totally wrong. Muslims are the people that follow Islam. They're the equivalent, like this is Christians and this is Christianity, and they follow that. And so I talked about those misconceptions, but now I'm going to talk about the anti-sentimental feelings toward Muslims in the United States. Now, I think that you've probably encountered some anti-sentimental feelings, but you've probably just not seen that they were anti-sentimental. Like, for instance, on social media, I always see jokes of people making fun of Muslims for, say, how they dress or the Quran or something, just making wisecracks about that. And people laugh or repost it and they encourage it, but they don't really see how how painful that would be to see on your timeline. And so I just think that anti-sentimental feelings, they really, say the political election of 2016, Donald Trump, for instance, he's widely known for wanting to create a wall to keep out immigrants and et cetera, and he's also voiced so many other opinions that I don't want to get into because that's a show in itself. And so, also, there are so many stereotypes that come from anti-sentimental feelings toward Islamic people, and some aren't even stereotypes. Like, for instance, I was flying to Washington, D.C. by myself. or no, I was flying from DC to Nashville, and there was a man behind me, and I think that he was a Muslim. Well, he had a Quran in his hand, and we were in line trying to go through TSA, and so I went through and got my stuff, and I sat waiting for the rest of the group that I was with to get ready to board a plane, and they were just giving him the hardest time trying to go through security, and they were just doing unnecessary things that were just, like, they made him open up his Quran, and they had to, like, flip through it and, like, put it through the machine. Like, that's extra. I was carrying bags and stuff, and they didn't do half as much stuff to me as they did to him. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, wow, this is the country we live in. And other people were just looking, and I saw a couple teenagers just laughing. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is actually happening. And it caught me off guard because I've always heard about stories like that, but I've never seen anything like that firsthand. And I thought about that the whole plane ride home, and I was just like, wow. And so we see things like this. And for instance, we see things like this, and we don't ever take a stand. Now, there are some brave souls who do, but for the most part, people don't. And another thing that really, really irritates me, people are always talking about ISIS, which is a terrorist group that needs to be stopped ASAP. The biggest thing that irks me is people who think that all followers of Islam are part of ISIS. That is not what's going on at all. That's like saying all people who listen to hip hop are drug dealers, or all people who listen to soul are hippies. You can't judge an entire race or group or party by one thought. Like, I grew up in a Democratic household, but I can tell you that not all Democrats hate gays or whatever. And I can tell you that not all Democrats hate Republicans. It's just, I hate stereotypes like that. And I hate when people try to classify large groups by one thing that just so happens to be popular among that group of people. Like, yes, a lot of people in the world like fried chicken. Yes, a lot of black people like fried chicken. Not all black people like fried chicken, and I wish people would get that through their heads.
Well, Lana, when you see people thinking in terms of animosity toward these various groups, we've got about 2 minutes in this segment. When you see people thinking about the animosity toward various groups, to put it within the African-American context, and you think in terms of slavery, the Civil War, and then the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, are you contending, or are you saying that all of these groups, no matter what group they might, what religion they might belong to, have